TIFU by agreeing to go on a double date with my best friend, a shit show. So back in 2020, during the peak of COVID, my best friend and I were feeling pretty lonely. We decided to check out Tinder to see what all the fuss was about. To set the scene, we were two shy girls with little dating experience and not really into casual flings. My bestie, Jasmine, was even shyer than I was. I often found myself coddling her a bit. Jasmine matched with a guy she really liked, and when he asked her out, she panicked because she didn't want to go alone. She wanted me there for support. I had my guy in mind and suggested a double date to help ease the nerves. Here comes my first mistake. I matched with a guy on Tinder who only had one photo of himself in military uniform. We chatted for a while, and he seemed nice, so I invited him to join us. The day before the date, he messaged me, distraught, saying he had wrecked his car and was devastated he couldn't make it. My second mistake? I told him, no worries, I can come pick you up. I barely knew this guy, but I was embarrassed about not having another date lined up and didn't want to let Jasmine down. He agreed, and I felt relieved. The next morning, I picked up Jasmine so we could carpool to the date. I tried messaging him, but he wasn't responding. I thought maybe he was still asleep, so I drove out to his house. Following the address he had given me, Jasmine and I were driving for what felt like forever, completely lost in the country. Finally, we arrived at a house where a guy was sitting outside smoking a cigarette. I didn't want to pull into the driveway, so I called out, "Hey, is Chad here?" He looked annoyed and took his time, eventually going inside to fetch Chad. When Chad came out, I was in shock. The photo he had shared was clearly outdated. He looked nothing like it, and honestly, he smelled terrible. I felt so embarrassed. Chad seemed surprised to see me and said, "Hey, you came." I replied, "Yeah, you gave me your address." He then said he figured I wouldn't come since he hadn't responded. I stood there in awkward silence, and thankfully, he finally said he couldn't go after all. I was relieved and quickly reassured him it was fine before speeding away with Jasmine, both of us laughing at the absurdity of it all. Now, back to the double date. Jasmine still wanted me to join her with her date, even though I protested that I'd be a third wheel, but she insisted. So I caved. When we arrived at the restaurant, I awkwardly explained to her date, Mark, that my date wasn't coming. We sat down and I don't know what happened, but Jasmine barely spoke to him at all. I found myself asking him questions, trying to include Jasmine, saying things like, "Right, Jasmine?" and "What do you think, Jasmine?" But it felt more like a blind date for me than anything. The lunch was painfully awkward, and I was extremely grateful when it finally came to an end. Thanks for listening to my series of unfortunate events. My naive self thought I could handle the dating scene, but clearly I had a lot to learn.